الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق ونور عرش أفضل الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وسيدنا وسندنا وشفيعنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين. I begin in Allah's name, the Beneficent, the Merciful. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Mulk, هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ظلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worthy of praise for giving us this life and giving us the opportunity to represent Him. And in the 25 minutes that I have to present, I'd like to stress the importance of Allah's mercy and gifts and how we pay back this gift. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us. He has made the universe subservient to us. He has said in the Quran, أَلَمْ تَرَوْا أن الله سخر لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وأسبغ عليكم نعمه ظاهرة وباطنة. Do you not see that Allah has made ألم تروا أن الله سخر لكم, the universe is subservient to you. سخر لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض, whatever is in the sky and the earth, Allah has made it subservient to you. وَأَسْبَغَ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعَمَهُ, He has made these as gifts. نِعَمَهُ, plural. نِعَمَهُ ظَاهِرَةً وَبَاطِنًا, whether you can see it or not. And it is very important for us that as human beings that are intelligent, that we are cognizant of this enormous gift. In Surah Ibrahim, Allah says, وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَئِنْ كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِ لَشَدِيدٌ. Allah has made it known that if you are grateful, He will give you more, and if you are ungrateful, He will punish you. That's the rule of God. We gathering in this conference, inshallah, it's a blessing, it's an honor, and we have an intent to socialize, to meet, to come up with new ideas, and of course, to make good use of our time during the holidays, which is more important for us to indulge in a positive lifestyle than to be merry-making and partying that may take us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what better than to get to such gatherings? But pragmatically speaking, besides the fact that we're making good use of our time in the social arena and coming to these wonderful conferences with which to meet and to learn and to listen to, wonderful presentations by scholars of various kinds, you and I have to have the desire to leave this facility, these kinds of facilities, in a proactive way, to say, Oh Allah, what can I learn from these gatherings so that I continue to perpetuate the goodness that You have created me for? And the core principle here is that you and I must consider ourselves liable for doing good for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a fundamental principle in the Quran which to me resonates the most powerful message. Allah says, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You are the best in the community, you promote good, you forbid evil, and you believe in Allah. So when we leave these facilities, we have to ask the question, what can I do to promote good and forbid evil? And how can I enhance my belief in Allah? And the Quran is replete with examples. Filled with examples with which to follow so that you and I can get closer to Allah. It's not a secret. Many times people ask, how do I get closer to Allah? It's not a secret. The Quran is filled with examples. Examples of prophets who struggled constantly to show the evidence of why they were created, and they came as our role models to teach us how to proactively present a positive lifestyle, even at the cost of losing their lives. we commemorate the Shahada of Imam Hussain ﷺ for the same reason, that he went to promote goodness. When the Prophet said, Hussainu minni wa ana min al-Hussain, the interesting part of this hadith is the second part. The first is obvious, Hussainu minni, Hussain is from me. But the second part is what really resonates, and I am from Hussain. Wa ana min al-Hussain, what does that mean? It means that Imam Hussain alayhi salam promoted so much good that he kept the message of the Prophet alive forever. That constant struggle with which to give your children, yourself, to maintain the positive trajectory of Allah's message is what Allah in the Quran is constantly invoking for us to reflect and to do. Constantly asking us to do that. So within this time, I want us to think before we leave these places, and please, we must demand it. Let us not be reactionary Muslims. In my opinion, I do not see Ahlul Bayt as reactionary leaders. I do not see Imam Ali alayhi salam as a reactionary leader. I see him 24/7 proactionary, constantly working to improve the environment, constantly working to prepare infrastructures to protect the hereafter. Constant. There was never a moment where they were waiting for a problem so that they could solve it. They were always working to prevent problems. And should problems come, they would attack it to destroy it. We as Muslims, unfortunately, most of us, are reactionary believers. We are in paralysis, what I call silent majority. If you ever study the dynamics of social science, you'll see that the majority is always silent. It's the minority that is vocal. Now, all societies are ruled as such. It's the minority that's vocal, and it's the minority that's vocal, and it's the majority that's silent. And the majority is waiting to be dictated. Unfortunately, most of the vocal minorities are usually on the wrong side, unfortunately, and they dictate the outcome of legislation, unfortunately, and we become its victims. And then when we start to find that legislation hurting us, then we start to cry. Whereas the vocal minority has already placed in position something that is beneficial to them, and you and I are paying the price for it because we are tacitly silent. Whereas in Islam, I have never seen my life, or that which I learned, ever in that moment where I need to be silent. What good is it to be silent and to be reactionary when every story in the Quran is proactionary? Look what Allah says to Yahya ibn Zakaria. He says, Ya Yahya, khudil kitaba biquwwa. Oh Yahya, take by the law and move. Don't wait. There is a beautiful story that I'm going to place. I want us to embed it, ensconce it in our hearts, honestly, and live by that. Just this one image that drives me every time I start getting lazy. I see this image. It just absolutely moves me. And images are worth thousands of words. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam Ali alayhi salam, the first battle that he fought after he became the recognized Khalifa, after the third Khalifa, you find that he confronted Aisha. As you know, Aisha fought him in Basra. And she commanded an army. And the meaning of that word, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا. The meaning of this verse in Surah Al-Hujurat came to full fruition in the battle of Jamal, which was in Basra. And when Imam Ali alayhi salam was fighting, he was very resistant. He didn't want to counter-attack Aisha's army because they were at the end of the day proclaiming to be Muslim. He wanted to bring peace. But the enemy started to shower them, Imam Ali's army, with enormous amount of arrows. Enormous amount of arrows. So Muhammad ibn Hanafiya was the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam, as you know. And he was standing next to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and Imam gave him the banner. Gave him the banner, the flag, and says, Muhammad, take this flag and go to the front lines. Go to the front lines. As you know, Aisha was on a camel leading this battle, which is unbelievable in history. It's amazing how we can turn a blind eye to something that is profoundly problematic. I mean, you're talking about battle, war, the wife of the Prophet on a battlefield, on a camel, whereas Quran says, وَقَرْنَا فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ, and remain in your houses. But people just tend to just turn a blind eye, you know. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I'd like to say that on Judgment Day to Allah, it's okay. But anyway, Imam Ali alayhi salam says to Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, says, take this banner and go to the front lines. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya looks at Imam Ali alayhi salam and says, my father, the sky is black with arrows. Meaning, we are being showered with arrows. He hesitated for a split moment. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya says, I felt a breeze pass me by, and I looked and my hand was empty, and I saw my father in the front with the banner. That image should be ensconced in our hearts. Imam Ali alayhi salam commanded his son to go. He doubted for a second. Imam didn't wait to convince him. He grabbed it and ran, and he said, I saw my father on the front line. The Khalifa, the Imam of the time, on the front lines. What better role model in Islam can you and I ask for than such examples? And yet we're in paralysis mode, making excuses about our problems for our children, that our children are indulging in drugs today. And there's so much sexual indecency within our community, the dating game. And there's so much apathy in religion that our children are not necessarily praying or fasting. We're in paralysis. We're saying, Ya Mahdi, adrikni, as-sa'a, as-sa'a. Imam is replying, what are you doing? Saying, adrikni? Have you risen and taken the banner to go forward and establish something? Or are you going to wait for me to come? So we wait for you to come. Can you imagine if our prophets and imams function at this level? We would have no religion today. We'd be sitting ducks, dead. Whereas prophets and imams were movers and shakers, and they put their lives on the line. So what are we doing? Honestly, besides attending lectures, you and I should hold ourselves liable to say, Allah, you made me responsible on this earth when you created me. When Allah said, قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً, we think, yeah, Khalifa here is Adam and all the prophets and Rasulullah and the Imams. No, we are also khulafa. On a second and a tertiary level, we are khulafa also. But we don't think that way. We find our genius that we have, it's for our own empires and for our own businesses, which is good, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. Inshallah, we should succeed within our own sphere to be very successful businessmen and very successful entrepreneurs, so that we make billions of dollars. And inshallah, as Sayyid Sulaiman mentioned, that khums, which is due to Allah, will come and finance the rest of the projects. But do you think it's about money? You know, often when I do projects, the first thing that is in the people's mind, brother, where's the money? I said, let me tell you, there are trillions of dollars available. Not billions, trillions. I said, where are the hearts? Where are the minds? Where are the souls? Where are the bodies? You know, one thing I admire about Mother Teresa? She was a Catholic nun, but she was proactive. A man that I know said to me, he says, I offered her $1 million. I gave her $1 million check. You know what she said to me? She took the check and gave it back to me. She says, I don't need your money. Bring me people to help out with the poverty in India. I don't need your $1 million. You bring me bodies. Bring me people who will help me. I said, bravo for a woman who thinks that way. That she wasn't concerned about the money. She was concerned about the action on the ground. So are we thinking action? Do we think about saving the next generation? The introduction to this presentation was about being green, eco-sensitive. Yes, spiritually eco-sensitive too. Sure, we need to recycle. As I mentioned, the verse, هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور. Right? He has made the earth subservient to you. هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا. He made it subservient. Walk on it, Allah says. Use it and eat from it. وكلوا من رزقه. Take from it. Allah says, I made it for you, take it. I made trees with fruits to come down so you can pluck them. Allah says, take them, use it. Alam taraw anna Allah, do you not see that God has made the universe subservient to you? Subservient, whether you can see it or not. Allah says, see, He has given us fa'idah. He has given us much. But Allah says, قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Little you are grateful. I believe true gratefulness is to indulge in a positive way, to say, oh Allah, you gave me a mind. I'm an engineer. You gave me a mind. I'm strong. You gave me a heart, strong heart. I want to do something for you. When you and I take a step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will open gates for us. And He will say, come. وَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. Remember me, I will remember you. But I'm saying this not to patronize any of you. I'm being very honest. And the Muslim community is a beautiful community. But we're not moving at the speed we need to move at with regards to our progression in societies, particularly in saving our next generations. For example, how many infrastructures do we have in America to protect the education of our youth in America as Muslims? Many times we say we don't need it. I'm living in a very nice neighborhood. I pay $20,000, $30,000 a year in taxes. I've got the finest school in America. My child goes to the best school. I don't need it. Really? Did you go to that school and see the kind of immorality that takes place in the school? Because the schools across America, their moral standards have degraded dramatically in the last few decades. Dramatically. I know, because I used to run a school district for 3 years. Firsthand, in one of the finest schools in America, in Rybrook, I used to run their entire technology of the entire school. Right? The entire school. And you should see boys, girls sitting on the laps of boys, you know, kissing each other, doing all kinds of, and saying, what's this? They said, oh, you can't say a word, their fathers will sue us. They can do what they want. But it's the finest school. They go to the best schools. But where's the moral grade? If we think that we have achieved much by getting a PhD, but we lost Iman and became atheists and agnostics, in my opinion, that's a loss. That's regression, not progression. Progression is when our Iman increases. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. Who are the believers? When signs, وَإِذَا إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِّرَ اللَّهُ, when they remember Allah, their hearts palpitate. There's a preparation that takes place. Parents who have instilled love of Allah, love of prophets, love of Ahlul Bayt in their souls, and has made them ready and active. Those who helped Imam Ali alayhi salam, for example, those who helped Imam Hussein on the battles of Karbala, their hearts were ready. Allah said, فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَ سَيَذَّكَّرُ مَن يَخْشَى. Remind them. Reminding is beneficial. The one who will listen to you is the one who is conscious of Allah. Yakhsha, khushu. One who is humble on earth. One who is ready to sacrifice. And I'm not saying we're not. But I don't think we're very prepared. Structurally, if you look around America, even in the most densely populated Muslim communities, we don't even have high schools yet, and high schools are just beginning to pop up. If there was 500 Jews in that community that have a university, and we're patting each other on the back for having an elementary school, when we're tens of thousands, we're snail's pace. Whereas our leaders were the finest proactive leaders. Did we give back to the community? Did we establish the ni'mah Allah gave us? We talk about being green. What is being green? Be eco-conscious. Don't do asraf. Don't be one who wastes. Allah says, Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu innahu la yuhibbul musrifin. Eat, drink, but don't overdo it. God doesn't like those who overdo it. This principle, in my opinion, is the solution to diets. The $100 billion diet business doesn't work. This one works. Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu innahu la yuhibbul musrifin. It's the best formula for diet. It's the best formula for abstinence. It's the best formula for balance. وَأَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ وَلَا تُخْسِرُوا الْمِيزَانِ. Maintain the balance, don't tip it. That's what life is about. What about my balance as a Muslim in a proactive way to do something? So you and I may be thinking, but brother, I don't have many talents. What can I do? I've been thinking, but I don't know. What do I write a poem? Do I go on Twitter and do something? Do it. Because when you continue to do it, Allah starts opening the door for you and tells you, okay, did you see the results here? Now do this. Did you see this? Now do that. There's a brother right now putting together a very nice blog site where he's taking all the news out there, just like what Noam Chomsky does, as a Muslim, and he is an expert in media, and he's collecting it and boiling down very simplified data points as to what the media really is saying. We don't have such. This is think tank idea, an idea of being a think tank. Let me show you what's really percolating in society. See, it's a positive move. It's a one-person deal. But he's already doing it. He's sending me blogs. He says, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I said, bravo. He doesn't work in media. He's working somewhere else. He said, but brother, I have too much free time. I need to do something for Allah. I told you, some of you may have heard, there's a brother in California, medical doctor, emergency room medicine, loves emergency medicine. He's in charge of the emergency medical center in California, in LA. Every year, twice a year, he goes to Karbala. Karbala, twice a year. When asked, why are you going to Karbala? He said, I am going to prepare emergency room medicine in Iraq. Iraq does not have emergency medical procedures. There's no ER in the hospitals in Iraq. He says people get blown up, IEDs constant, 3 o'clock in the morning, families are coming with bombs, having blown up in there. You need emergency. It's a specialization. He says, Iraq, as rich as it is in its oil revenues, does not have emergency medicine. Now, you would think that people would get together and figure out emergency medicine. But maybe they're inundated with war so much they have no time. So here's a brother in California who has the time and the money, and he spends his own money and goes all the way down to Iraq. And he's been establishing emergency medical procedures. And when I asked him, why are you doing this, besides the philanthropy and the good thing, he says, I am preparing for Imam Mahdi ﷺ that when he reappears, he can use this to his benefit to establish Islam. That's proactivity. That's the type of the vision the one Imam Ali grabs that, you see. He's not hesitating. He grabs the banner and he runs to the front lines and he's not waiting. So I implore us all, please, let's not wait. When you come to these conferences and you listen to every presentation, ask yourself, what did I learn from this thing? And how can I connect it positively so that next year when I come to this conference, I have something tangible, cohesive, that's in momentum, doing something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we don't know on which land we will die. And you and I will be surprised. People ask me, brother, all these projects you're doing look simple, not here to... I've got a few more minutes left. But when we started the camp 25 years ago, we took kids. When I left my university, I cried. I said, Allah, I grew up in New York. You moved me from Africa to America to New York. You brought me here with intact parents who protected me from sin. That I could have been a drug dealer, I could have been a drug addict, I could have done many haram things. New York City of all the places. You protected me. Then you sent me to the university to get educated. So many possible deaths I avoided. You protected me. You guided me. You taught me. My God, how much can I pay you back? I am not a statistic. You and I are not a statistic. 7.5 billion people, you and I are not a probability to be here in this conference tonight or today. You and I were chosen. Allah has chosen us, and He's going to hold you and me liable on Judgment Day. I'm just speaking from experience. That I said, oh Allah, I want to pay you back even 1%, because I'll never pay you back, ever. If I worship you and I serve you forever, I won't even scratch the surface of the mercy you've given me. So we took a group of youth who never prayed. We said, come on, we will teach you Islam. How? Preaching to them? No. Let's be role models. Let's be their friends. These little children, they need role models. They need to look up to somebody. What do they do on weekends? They got nothing else to do. Then at least, that time, we didn't have the technology we have today. Today, kids have access to the worst things possible in seconds. How do we protect them? We're in paralysis mode. Inshallah, Imam Mahdi will fix it when he comes. Allah is asking you and me, what stopped you from fixing it? When we took those kids skiing the first year, I remember, because I'm a skier, took them skiing, I got letters from youth who I never saw in my life before. They said, brother, I never prayed before. I never fasted. I had no idea what Islam is. I fell in love with Islam, and I'm never going to give up Islam. A letter. This was a letter from Allah to me. A boy wrote it, but I knew Allah was talking to me. This boy wrote a 2-page letter. I just saw him. He's a surgeon today, married with, with 2 kids, surgeon. He's still full of deen, maintaining his salah, sending his children to Islamic school. I'm saying, subhanAllah, this boy didn't even pray before. All it took was that one experience on a ski slope. He fell in love with Allah. He says, I'll never give it up. We didn't have to go give them chocolates, money, nothing. We just had to resonate Islam. It grew. That we started doing camps, and every time I'd get letters and notes from people, brother, my life has changed. Allah says, did you see this? You keep doing it. It came to a point post 9/11, we were not even getting camps. They were not giving it to us because we were Muslims. It was a calling from Allah. Allah says, now have your own. Buy it. Camp, even ISNA, which is the largest Sunni group in America, could not purchase it. We went ahead and we purchased it. Why? We're not big persons. We're not thinking about millions of dollars. We don't have money. Allah says, take a step, I will help you. إِن يَنْصُرُكُمُ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ وَإِن يَخْذُلْكُمْ فَمَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ. When God helps you, no one can defeat you. And if He doesn't help you, who else is there to help you? Allah says. وَإِن يَخْذُلْكُمْ فَمَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ. Today we have a $10 million camp. And we don't owe a dime to anyone. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Okay, my time is up, so I'm going to conclude that just a simple, I'm a very small person in society, and I speak with my heart. We took a step, and we were capable of building a $10 million institution that generates $500,000 a year in revenue that goes towards the education of the next generation. It goes towards orphanages around the world. It goes towards so many projects, including interest-free loans, where we're working now to eliminate student loans, because to me, that's a scam. We need to eliminate these things. We're sitting with a lot of wealth. Are we thinking of putting our pools together and saying, let us give a little loan to Allah? مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. How many of us are willing to give a little loan to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And say, oh Allah, my $1 solved the problem of many of our next generations. Do we do those things? So I end with this. Let us be proactive. In Surah Al-Hajj, verse number 78, Allah says, وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِ هُوَ اجْتَبَاكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِ وَفِي هَذَا لِيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ شَهِيدًا عَلَيْكُمْ وَتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِاللَّهِ هُوَ مَوْلَاكُمْ فَنِعْمَ الْمَوْلَى وَنِعْمَ النَّصِيرُ. Here, I'm just going to take it 30 seconds. You and I are witnesses over the people. Let me translate. Allah says, strive hard in the way of Allah, such a striving that is due to Him. He has chosen you. He has not laid upon you any hardship in religion. The faith of your father Ibrahim, He named you Muslims before and in this, that the messenger may, listen to this part, the messenger may be a bearer of witness to you, and you may be bearer of witness to the people. We are not spectators in Islam. We're not in a Colosseum watching the Imams and the Prophets do Allah's work. We are in the Colosseum, and the only spectator is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one watching us, Wallahu basirun bima ta'amalun. He says, witness to the people. Therefore keep up prayer, pay the poor rate, hold fast by Allah. He is your guardian. How excellent is the guardian, and how excellent the helper. You and I are in with the Prophets and the Imams, and you and I better be doing their work, or else Allah will hold us liable. وآخر الدعوان الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات الله.